Okay, so in this lecture, we will discuss cache performance issues. And the most important thing about cache performance is that we account for those stall cycles. And basically, when the CPU issues the address for a memory location to the cache, um, our assumption that we will have a hit here and get the data back. So this is in the case of a hit. And this is what we account for. We assume things are good and we get the data. But the problem really arises when there is a miss, and then when there is a miss, unfortunately, we have to go to the main memory or to the lower level of the memory hierarchy and get the memory block, right? And this is this is the case of the case of the memory miss, and this in the case of the memory miss, we will have those stall cycles, and this will create for us. Okay, so as we said, the issue comes in with those memory stall cycles. So we need to find out how many of those stall cycles, because in my CPU time they will be added. Okay, so we said with CPU time we have those number of cycles that I need to execute, but that is based on there is a hit time times the cycle time. And now if we have whoops if we have a stall cycles, we need to add those stall cycles in addition to we need to add those stall cycles in addition to the execution cycles, because now this is what becomes my real CPU time. So what are the stall cycles? How we can compute those? In your notes, he's throwing out two formulas here. One says memory accesses per program, multiplied by the miss rate multiplied by the miss penalty. Okay, makes sense. And then he says this is the instructions per program multiplied by misses per instruction multiplied by the miss penalty. It looks like a little bit different, those two equations. Actually, they are not. They are the same. And to prove that they are the same, what we will do here. Let me just check one thing here for a second. Okay, so basically the memory stall cycles are what? The memory stall cycles are number of misses in the program times the miss penalty. So suppose, for example, I am running a program of 100 instructions. Two of those caused misses. So those will create for me the stall cycle. So I multiply 2 times the miss penalty. The miss penalty, right? Basically, the number of memory stall cycles, number of misses in the program, and miss penalty. There is no disagreement about the miss penalty. Miss penalty is there. Let's check what are the misses per program. What are they? Misses per program. Well, we have to know how many instructions that we are executing in the program, and what is the rate of memory accesses per instruction. This is a rate here. So for example, let's say if I have 100 instructions, 10 of those are memory accesses. Okay, so we need to know the rate so that I can get the number of instructions that will access the memory. And then we have to have the ratio of misses per memory access. This is the miss rate. Basically, this is the miss rate. Okay, so this is really what will count for me how many misses that I have in my program. Number of instructions times the probability or the rate that I will have memory accesses times the rate of miss per memory access. That will give me the accesses and for program. Now I can take this equation here and I say, okay, if I cancel instruction per instruction, I will get what? Well, I will get memory access per program times the miss rate, right? And if I plug this back in here, I will get the first equation in the earlier slide. Or I can take this equation and I play it this way. I can cancel memory accesses, right? Like so they cancel, and then I get instructions per program times misses per instructions times the miss penalty to get the memory stall cycles. So if we go to the earlier slide here, these two equations, they differ in these two terms, but the slide shows you this slides where these two terms are coming from. This is the master equation right here. Okay, now so let's go for a real example here. Suppose I have an I cache and D cache. What's an I cache? Instruction cache. What's a D cache? Data cache. So we have a cache for instructions and a cache for data. Yes, and the reason is to allow accessing the cache for to fetch instructions and the other cache to fetch the data at the same time. So I have two different caches. The miss rate for the instruction cache is 2%, and the miss rate for the data cache is 4%. The miss penalty, 100 cycles. That is high. Okay. Now the base CPI, if everything goes nice and we have a hit, it means we have a CPI of 2. He's telling me that the load and stores are 30% of the instructions. So this is the rate where how many memory accesses per instruction, and I have to be specific, data memory accesses per instruction. So what are those misses cycles? So as far as the instruction cache goes, I multiply the miss rate times the miss penalty. I'm gonna get 2 cycles. Okay. Now, this is for the per instruction. Now, for the D cache, I multiply the miss penalty times 100, but not all the instructions are memory accesses. Then I multiply it with this priority, and I'll get what? 1.4. Then the actual CPI equals what? Add the miss cycles per instruction for from the instruction cache and the miss cycles per instruction from the data cache and the base. I'm sorry. This is the base CPI. This is the I cache, and this is the data cache, and I get 5.44. Now somebody will say, oh, okay, from the previous equations, where are those? The miss penalty? Where are those? The other instructions? These instructions per program, where are they? See, right here, what he is asking here, what he's asking is that if we look at the CPU time equation, we have number instructions, or instruction count. Let's say that times CPI times cycle time. So what he wants to do here, he wants to understand what is gonna be the effect on this base CPI. He's not asking me to compute the complete number of stall cycles. He's not asking me to compute the total number of CPU time. He's asking me to check what is going to be the actual, so the actual CPI. So this is here the ideal CPI when I have a hit rate of 100%. But because I have a misses, my actual CPI will differ. Okay. All right. Now, hit time is important for performance, and we would like to compute a very important metric for the memory system called average memory access time. And average memory access time equals the hit time plus the miss rate and penalty rate. Okay, the hit time plus the miss rate and penalty rate, all in seconds, but all in seconds. Now we are not dealing with cycles. Once you deal with time, your unit becomes seconds, not cycles. Now consider this. Here's an example. I have a CPU of 1 nanosecond clock. Okay, the hit time is 1 cycle, which means 1 nanosecond. The miss penalty 20 cycles, which means 20 nanosecond. The iCache miss rate is 5%. So what is the average memory access time to the iCache? Okay, it is equal to 1 nanosecond when there is a hit. Okay, plus now this is the miss time, which is equal the miss rate times the miss penalty in seconds. The miss rate, the question indicates it's 5%, and the miss penalty in nanoseconds is 20 nanoseconds. Add everything together, and we have 2 nanoseconds. This is the average. This is the average memory access time for this cache. Okay. All right. Now, what we need to understand one thing, that a lot of people have been in the, especially in the early 90s, they were optimizing the speed of the CPU and going gun ho in optimizing the CPU, and the memory system was not catching up. Unfortunately, that ended up that while the CPU clock rates were increased tremendously, and that caused that the memory cycles were accounting for more of the CPU cycles. The CPU, when there is a stall, used to spin a lot, wasting of its cycles because the memory subsystem was not catching up in the same speed as the CPUs. Now, we so far we talked about placement policy. We say that in terms of policy for the cache, we need to talk about two things: placement, right? And we said we have the direct and K-way and fully associative. Okay, and then we said there is a replacement policy, and we said the replacement policy basically deals with where do I where or when the cache is full, which block I need to kick out of the cache. Okay, in direct mapped cache, we don't have a choice. Whenever we need to kick a particular block out of the cache, there is no alternative for that block. Where there is a choice in when you have a fully associative or K-way association, then among those present in a single set, so because you have the single set here and you have multiple blocks in that set, which one to kick out? So we prefer non-valid entry. So because non-valid entry means that this has not been occupied, but you can use that, but which means there is no copy back, by the way. But if all of those have valid entries, meaning I need to kick out a block. So in non-valid entry, it means the block is empty or not used. I can use that. But if all of them have valid bits, it means all blocks are occupied in that set. And now what I need to do is I need to kick out. Now there are two different policies. Least recently used. So let's say, for example, this block was used at 9 o'clock a.m. and this block was used at 10 o'clock, and this was used at 8 a.m. and this was used at 11, all a.m. times. Now, if I want to kick one block, I will choose the one that has not been used for the longest time, and I kick it out of the cache. And so we call this least recently used. And this is manageable for two-way. And when two-way, it means you have in a single set two blocks. Manageable for four ways, which means you have four. And then as the set size increases by by increasing the association, managing those times, which one arrived earlier. Then you need timers and all that, so it makes things complicated. Random gives approximately the same performance as least recently used for high associativity if you have the set large. So basically, when your set size is small, this is preferred. When it is large, this could be the preferred method. But obviously, the best results is given by this least recently used. Okay, now if we look at cache misses, all right, what are the causes of those cache misses? And how can we resolve by looking at the root cause, how we can resolve it? Cache misses is classified or can be one of the following reasons or misses. Cache capacity misses, and this is caused because the cache has a finite size. Makes sense. You can fit the entire lower level into of the memory system of the cache. So obviously you will have capacity misses. So how can I reduce these type of misses? Well, increase cache size. But if I increase cache size, what am I risking? I'm going to increase access time. Well, because I'm making the cache small, level 1 for instance, because I want to have fast access. And now if I start increasing that cache, what am I going to do to the access time? I will slow it down. So okay, so this have to be careful of how much we increase the cache size. Another cause is conflict misses. Conflict misses occurs when cache the cache had evicted an earlier entry earlier, and basically to make it simple, you have two blocks in the memory fighting for the multiple blocks, fighting for a few or a set of a small size in the cache, a few blocks in the memory fighting for a small set in the cache. And what you need, obviously associativity has a lot to do with it. So if you increase the association, you will reduce conflict misses. But increasing associativity makes the cache design complex, and you will increase access time. Okay, compulsory misses, which is the last category of the misses that we see, and it's called misses, by the way. It is called by the first reference to allocation in memory. This comes when the cache comes from reset, or the hardware comes from reset. So we are missing because the data is not there yet. And what we need, we increase the block size. Unfortunately, increasing the block size increases miss penalty. As we have seen before, you have to have time to move those bytes from the lower level of the memory to the higher level, from, for example, memory to the cache. At large block size, then you start see miss rate due to pollution. Basically, when you modify those blocks. Okay, this table is the same as we have explained earlier, but in different organization. Now, let's talk about multi-level caches. Can I have multi-level caches? And the answer, if I may, I'll just proceed a little bit and come back to this. This is one of the from Intel site. This is Core i7 three-level cache architecture. You will see that this is the CPU here, one of them. This is the another CPU, right? And the CPU talks with a cache that has data. We call it level 1 cache. And it talks with another cache which has instruction. We'll call it level 1 instruction cache, level 1 data cache. All right, so these for every core, they are inside the core. Okay, and then these two caches, the level 1, they talk to the L2 cache, which is specific to the core. And as you see that we have here a different core, it has its own level 1 data cache, own level 1 instruction cache, and its own L2 cache. And also all these caches that are in the processor, they talk with a common cache which is called L3 cache. And if we look at the sizes, obviously the size up here is very small for the L1 and both data and instruction, 32 KB. And The reason, the emphasis in level 1 is access time. Okay, so you want them to have to be small, very quick in getting the data, all right, or the instructions. So the emphasis in the upper level of caches, especially level 1, it is access time. All right, now you will see that for level 2 the cache size increases. Associativity, I'm sorry, 4-way, 8-way for data and instruction. L2, 8-way. Watch L3, 2 megabytes per core. Okay, so if you have 2 cores, then 4 megabytes. Associativity, 16-way. Okay, watch the latency, 4 cycles. Quick for L1, 10 cycles, a little slower. 35 cycles, slower for L3. The emphasis for L2 and L3 is reducing what? Miss rate. That's what we want. We want to reduce miss rate. Okay, so the emphasis in level 1 is what? Access time, low access time. It has to be very fast. And the emphasis for a lower level of cache is reducing miss rate. That's why lower level caches, you have them larger in size. Okay, and you can see the replacement policy, sudo least recently used, sudo least recently used, sudo. It means it's very close to least recently used, but it's modified a bit to make the least recently used simpler. Okay, so now let's talk about examples. All right, so now we've seen we have multiple levels. Now we will see that we have L1 and L2. The primary cache, L1, it is what? It is what? Small, but what? Fast. L2, in some system, this system, he assumes one L1 and L2 cache misses, so it's larger, slower, but faster than the main memory, and the emphasis is in reducing miss rate. Okay, memory service L2. And some we have L3, as we have seen in the block diagram. So in this slide, he's assuming that CPU talks with L1 and L1 talks with L2 and main memory. Okay, and then sometimes the textbook the examples removes L2 and sometimes adds it. And so in this context here, it says that given here the assumption is only we have level 1 cache. CPU base is CPI equals 1, clock rate 4 gigahertz. Miss rate per instruction 2%. Main memory access 100 nanoseconds. Notice clock rate of 4 gigahertz, that means that the cycle time equals what? Equals 0.25 what? Nanosecond, which means this memory access time, it is how many cycles? It is 400 cycles. Why? Because every 1 nanoseconds is 4 cycles, because the clock rate is 4 gigahertz. Now, what is the miss penalty? Well, the miss penalty, I have to convert the 100 nanosecond divided by the cycle time, and I get 400 cycles. What is the effective CPI? Well, the effective CPI, we add the ideal CPI, which is 1. Whoops. A little excited here. Which is 1 right here. Plus what? The miss rate, which is 0.02 times the miss penalty, and you get a 9. Now, this is assuming only one level of cache. Let's add in another level. So here we will add what? L2. And the access time for L2 is 5 nanoseconds. The global miss rate to main memory is 0.5%. Okay, so here, since the access time is 5 nanoseconds, we need to convert this 5 nanosecond into cycles. So we divide by the 4 gigahertz cycle, which is 0.25 nanosecond. That comes to 20 nanoseconds. Now, notice here that to compute the effective CPI, this is my ideal CPI. This is my miss rate from L1, right? And multiply this is my miss penalty. Okay, so my miss penalty or access time between L1 from N1 to L2, this is 20 cycles. Plus, what happened if I miss from L2? Well, first of all, give me the miss rate of L2. So miss rate from L2 to main memory, and he told me here it is 0.5%, and then multiply this by what? By multiply this by the miss penalty, but now this is when L2 acts as main memory. Okay, all right. So you add all of this and you get 3.4. Notice with one level of cache, I was having 9 cycles. With 2 levels, I'm having 3.4. Obviously, a great improvement for speed. Notice as well that here when I compute either the CPI or the average memory access time, I start with the ideal CPI and I add those miss rates. So if I miss on L1, I'll have to multiply this by miss rate of L1 and miss penalty when L1 access L2. Then if I have L2, I add miss rate of L2 missing and miss penalty when L2 access to the lower level, etc., etc. Similarly, for the average memory access time, I start with the hit time and then the miss rate and the miss penalty in seconds. Watch the unit here, seconds, and the unit here, cycles. Please notice the difference, okay? All right. Now, so as we say that the level 1 or primary cache, the design goal is to minimal hit time. It should be fast, okay? A minimal hit time, and it should be fast. So focus on the it should be fast, and for L2 it should be low miss rate. Okay, so because of that, typically L1 is a small cache and and L1 is smaller than L2. Okay, the block that's sorry, the second comment about the block size. The block size of L1 is less than the block size of L2. Okay, and we explained this, and interesting about the out of order CPUs, we have to be careful of dependent instructions and keep them before commitment and all that. So you can read that slide. I'm gonna stop at this slide, and you can finish. We will finish off the other slides in the next lecture. Thank you very much.